Hello, hello. Welcome. Renee Massey here. I'm so excited to be live today because I'm going to be talking about the first full moon of 2026. And it's kind of a big deal because, there's a lot that's going on right now. And there's always a lot going on right now. There's very few times that you will see me saying that everything is just like so perfectly even keel. But we move with the flow. I think the most important thing about, hi Eric, I think the most important thing about talking about the astrology stuff and the energetic climate and the different things that are going on with the transits, it's really important because it helps us to find our flow. It helps us to find things that could be missing, or ways that we might not be understanding our own energy and our own emotions. And this moon, let me tell you, it is offering us a very big lens on all of those things because the first full moon of 2026 is in Cancer. And the moon rules the sign of Cancer. So I'm going to back this up. I'm going to talk about a few things before I jump into the three really major things that I think you have got to align with during this transit that is going to support you in the biggest and the best ways to really anchor in a very particular kind of energy to move forward in 2026. So what I really want to start with is Capricorn season because I think there's a lot of backwards motion through this particular time of year. So Christianity is the religion that decided that Christmas would be celebrated at the solstice, right? The solstice is an ancient tradition. It is also something that happens every year based on the movement of the planets between the sun, the moon, everything else that's going on in the sky. Every year, whether it be December 20th or 21st, we enter into Capricorn season, which is also the first day of winter. And so when, Christianity took over, they really wanted to celebrate the birth of Jesus around this time. I don't really think this is when he was born, but this is what they chose. So it became a season of let's get together and let's celebrate and let's do all of these things and let's have parties and celebrations and parades and, all of these really heightened things that you would normally experience in the summertime. And so this season, if you felt like, I don't really feel like being around people. I don't really feel like going anywhere. I don't really feel like having a party or celebrating in that way and being around a ton of people. Then honestly, you're very much in alignment with Capricorn season because this is a time of retreat. This is not a time of going out and doing all of these busy activities and everything that the season has become. There's a collective unconscious tether to what Christmas represents for some people and how it should be celebrated. I do love Christmas. I do not particularly care to be around a ton of people during that season, okay? And so if you have felt like, I really just want to kind of self-isolate, I kind of want to hibernate, I want to be in like a bit of a retreat, I want the solitude, this is actually very much in alignment with Capricorn season. Capricorn is the energy of structure and foundations, okay? There's a lot of pressure in the energy of Capricorn as well. So what happens is we are actually reconfiguring our inner architecture during the time where everybody is saying, oh, you need to go out and celebrate. Oh, you should go do this. Oh, go buy presents. Oh, go and be in these busy stores and doing all of these busy things around all of these busy people. And you're feeling to yourself like, I actually just kind of want to hide out in my house and be comfy, cozy on my couch and maybe read or watch movies or do things with my family that are just us. I don't really feel like being around all of these different people, right? So that would actually be very in alignment with Capricorn season because this is a restructuring. And in order to restructure, you actually have to go within. So much of what happens in our society is like pulling you out of yourself, that you have to be all of these things. You have to do all of these things. You have to go to all of these different occasions and situations and blah, 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 blah. But the truth is that there is an inner reconfiguration that happens at this time of winter. Winter is for a reason. And it can also be a very abundant season, but it doesn't typically reflect the type of abundance that you would experience in the spring and summertime, right? Because in that time frame, you're looking at things that are being reborn in spring. You're watching things and the fertility of things, and everything is kind of coming into its own, and life is restored, and the energy is warming, and all of these things are happening, right? And the sun is around for longer periods of time throughout the day. You don't have that in the winter. So please do not push yourself to be all out and about and doing things that really don't feel good to your spirit. So if your heart is really telling you that I don't want to go out tonight, I don't want to go to this thing, I don't want to celebrate in this way, and you feel really guilty or bad or sad about that, you're not doing anything wrong. You're actually listening to your inner voice. And that right there is going to be something you really need all the time, but this year especially. We are dismantling so many things that have not worked for us. So if you can recall the dumpster fire that 2025 was for so many of us, so many things were completely dismantled, being taken apart, being reworked. And so what happened in that process was the veil was pulled back in a way. And at this point, you're freaking out because you're like, oh my God, I don't want any of this shit to happen. Why is this happening? Why isn't this working? Why can't I just get this to happen? Why can't this go? Da, 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 da. So you have all of these ideas and all of these plans, and you feel like you're constantly swimming against the current. And that, honestly, that burns a lot of energy. That causes a lot of energetic leaks. And I find that anytime you're doing something that is out of alignment with what your heart, your mind, and your spirit actually desire and crave for that time, you are leaking tons of energy. So if you notice that if you have put yourself in the situation where you are out and about and you're socializing and you're at parties and you're at restaurants and you're at clubs and you're doing all of these different things and you feel completely drained, there is a reason for that. And so please just ask yourself, what does my soul truly crave at this time? And you can ask yourself this every day. You can ask yourself this multiple times a day, but it's doing an energetic audit about like where you are right now. And it actually pulls you back inside, which is exactly what Capricorn season is all about. Pulling you within, bringing you into that deep retreat, into the darkness. And the darkness is not this evil demonic thing. The darkness is where birth is created. Like all of the creation happens in the darkness, okay? In the womb, in the cauldron, in the chalice. All of these things are not in the light. They are in gestation, which is in the darkness, okay? And so when we're releasing things, that's also tends to be a little bit more in the darkness, right? Because you're getting really clear on things because you're allowing in that retreat for things to naturally show up and become more aware to them. And I find that in the summer months, spring and summer, we're not really in that mode because we're out and about. We're enjoying the sunshine. We're enjoying the extra hours of daylight. We're much more happy to be out and doing things. And it really feels so much more in alignment with ourselves to be in that way at that time of the year. Whereas this time of the year, you might feel more alignment with not really being around many people at all. And that would be perfect for you if that is how you feel. But you've got to be really honest with yourself, and you've got to establish a very clear communication from within, because we are so used to acknowledging the external. So it's like if somebody asks you a question, if somebody wants something from you, if somebody wants to share something with you, even like, let's go to a movie tonight, let's go out to dinner, let's go shopping, let's take a day trip, let's go try this, blah, blah, blah. You might feel like, I should say yes. I should go with them. I should be doing these things, because if I don't, then I'm just kind of hiding away and I'm a hermit and I'm a recluse and, I need to get out and about. But honestly, it's really just a situational thing. You've got to feel it in your body, and you've got to be able to say to somebody, if it's not in alignment for you to do that, you know what, thank you so much for inviting me, but it's actually not a great day for me to do that. So Thank you so much. And let's do a rain check. Let's book this again in a month or so, whatever you need to do about that. But the point of me bringing this up is because I do feel like there is a really backwards energy about this time of year. The way that we celebrate Christmas, the way that we celebrate New Year's, or whatever it is that you celebrate, whether it be Hanukkah, New Year's, whatever, like we celebrate all sorts of things at this time of the year. So whatever it is that you do celebrate and believe in, like find your alignment with it and live your life according to that. Capricorn season is also about building, but building from within. So a lot of the times we will interpret it as like, oh, this is the time that I'm supposed to be working on my business. This is the time that I should be really figuring out what I want out of this year. This is the time that I should be really focused on my manifestations. You can do all of those things, but it's not going to probably look like a very outward, like a very forward facing thing, this outward thing in your life where it's on display for everyone, right? It's not something that you want to put super out there because honestly, it's still brewing in the cauldron. It's still doing all of its little connections and you're still fine tuning and you're still recalibrating a lot of the things that didn't work for last year. So maybe there's parts of yourself that you've been able to isolate, like, I tried so hard to do these certain things. I pushed myself and I forced myself and I allowed myself to work under the pressure, and that doesn't work for me anymore. So it's not so much that it's bad to do those things, but I realize that it's not something that's working for me, and it's not something that I want to bring with me into this year as I'm working on my business, as I'm working on myself and redefining my identity and how it wants to be a major influence of the energy of 2026 in my ecosystem, right? So with that being said, every time we have a full moon, we are looking at an opposition. Okay, so I told you all of this stuff about Capricorn because it's really important to understand the energetics of this particular time of year in relationship to what the moon is about to bring in for us, okay? So the full moon is tomorrow. The full moon is in Cancer. Cancer is the exact opposite of Capricorn. So when you look at the zodiac, if you study astrology, you'll see that, it's obviously a wheel of 12 different signs, and along that wheel of all of these signs, each one of those signs has a polar opposite. And basically what that means is this sign possesses something the other one doesn't, but they somehow find a way to balance each other out. So I've seen situations where opposites absolutely attract. I've been in situations where opposites absolutely attract. And then I've been in situations where opposites make me want to throw something out of a window, right? So you've got to be able to look at where the contrast is and where things are actually flowing really well, because you can have a really good, strong compatibility in contrast. But I think that when we look at contrast as a bad thing or a negative thing or a threatening thing to our beliefs or our existence or, what we're striving for, that is where we have a lot of issues. And so the entire world is a mirror to your reality, to your beliefs, to your identities. And what creates the identities are the beliefs. Okay. So this is where we want to really focus on what it is that we have believed in, but what is it that you've believed in that you feel like hasn't really benefited you before? And how can we shift that into a higher level belief system that really does anchor you into trust and inner harmony and inner congruency? Because those are the things that, it's like when you're manifesting something and you want something to come into your life, it has to follow the path of least resistance. And so when you are living outside of yourself, outsourcing your power, outsourcing your truth, outsourcing all of these different parts of who you are by constantly reaching outside of yourself to get that validation, to get the response, to get the yes, to get the, I'm good enough, the self-worthiness, the value in who you are, validating your mindset, validating your communication, validating your choices, your decisions, your path. You're looking for somebody to be like, you're doing a great job and you're on the right track, but we don't always get that. We got that when we were kids. We're not kids anymore. And so it's kind of funny because we don't get these rites of passages in life where, we've graduated from being children and we recognize that we're not going to get that same reaction from people. We grew into adults wondering why nobody cares anymore, right? We're like, People used to say good job. People used to acknowledge that I was getting good grades. They used to acknowledge if I was doing really well in a sport or any of my extracurricular stuff. They used to celebrate it. They used to, say how good I was at it. And now it's like, nobody cares. And so to you yourself, you're not sure how well you're doing. You know that there's certain things that aren't matching. There's certain things that aren't lining up. There are certain things that really don't feel good. And instead of really being able to step back and finding where that alignment would be best suited, we start to work against ourselves. We start to abandon ourselves, to step away from ourselves. We step outside of ourselves all the time, like I said, to find that validation. Am I on the right path? Am I doing the right thing? I can tell you right now, from all of the different times that I have done live free readings, that was the most asked question I have ever experienced. And it's not that I wouldn't answer that question, but I found it very interesting how little people were specific about the question that they had or the answer that they wanted. So it would be like, am I on the right track? Am I headed in the right direction? Am I on the right path? Am I doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing? And it's like, that's I'm not saying that those are bad questions. Sometimes I really want that validation too. Am I on the right path? Am I making the right choices? Am I doing the right stuff? And the truth is that only I can answer that from within myself. And I can feel the answer within myself, like a yes or a no. It feels like an expansiveness or a constriction in my body. And so with that being said, we want to actually give ourselves a little bit of grace here, okay? Because am I on the right path? Yes, you're always on the right path. Are there going to be detours? Are there going to be like lefts and rights and different things that you have to do? Yeah, you're going to make little detours. You're going to make little pit stops. There's going to be a time where maybe it would have been faster to get there by taking a right, but you took a left instead. And that's not meaning that you're not good enough or you're not making good sound decisions. It means that this is fucking life, right? We are expecting that our lives are going to flow in these really linear ways, just like we did when we were kids and we were told like, well, if you do a good job and you're a good person and you're a good kid and you're a good girl or good boy and you do all of these right things, that you're going to step into this really linear path of life where everything just works out in your favor. You're going to go to school, you're going to graduate, you're going to get a job, you're going to meet someone, you're going to get married, and then you're going to buy a house, and then you're going to have babies, and then you're going to raise those babies, and they're going to be really good too, and you're going to get promotions, and then you're going to get raises, and then you're going to go on vacations once a year. And it's like all of this very neatly processed stuff, and it's honestly a bunch of horseshit. And things have not been the same. Like, I can understand how previous generations, like my parents or my grandparents, functioned in very linear ways like that, because that is the way that society was set up for them. However, we're now living in an age where the advancements of technology, the advancements of medicine, the advancements of communications, I mean, so many different things that have advanced since we were in school. And so the world itself is this rapid fire, ever changing, ever evolving thing that it's like we can't even keep up with it anymore. And so we've developed this mindset that is very going in two different directions. And it feels like I'm far behind everybody else and I need to work at like rapid lightning speed to catch up. But then we also see evidence of areas in our lives where we have been like absolutely magnificent manifestors and receivers, and we've collapsed time around the things that we desire. And so we live in this really backwards situation in our minds and in our bodies, because we've been able to manifest. We've seen the evidence of that. But then there's also things that we've wanted that we haven't been able to manifest. And so we have to ask ourselves, like, why is this happening? Why can't I do this? Why is this so hard? And there's definitely things that are going on within your identity that are forecasting these particular outcomes because of what you believe and how you believe, and how the energy comes together within you to be a receiver, how the energy comes together within you to hold, to have faith, to have trust, to move in the flow and the alignment of what is coming through, what is showing up, and also what is not showing up and what is not coming through. And that is where we trip all over ourselves, because we live in a very physical world where the physical evidence of what we desire to manifest should be here, right? And with all of that being said, I'm really honing in on the part of you that desires but doubts, is absolutely magical as a manifester, but is also trapped in a body and a mindset that isn't quite on board with the belief that it's possible. And that even if it takes time, even if it takes 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, that whatever is meant for you cannot pass you by, that it is available to you. But we've got to match few things up. It's like playing the game memory. I loved playing this game with my kids. My kids loved playing this game when they were little. They had, I think it was like Disney ones when they were little. And so it was just all obviously like Disney characters from different movies and stuff, but we would play memory. And there were like 60 cards in this particular game that we would play. And so the first few rounds were really difficult. The first few times, it was like we would get a lot wrong. It was like we almost had to be able to flip over at least half the cards before we started actually being able to make the matches, right? And so this is very, very metaphorical when it comes to your identity, because there's a lot of you that you haven't been able to see. There's a lot of you that is hidden. And so imagine like those cards that are flipped over, and when you look at them and you're trying to make matches, because it's the frequency and the vibration that has to come together in coherency to actually manifest and to actually be able to unlock the next level, right? So when we experience this really strong turning point of our identity, of the things that are changing in our lives, the current is changing, the ecosystem is changing, the people that we are allowing in our energy field, they're changing. How we manifest is changing. What we're capable of receiving is changing. What we are no longer available for is changing. But it also churns up a lot of emotions. It churns up a lot of feelings. And that is where this Cancer moon comes in. Because as you are calibrating and shifting and realigning to meet the next higher timeline that you're available to connect with in your identity, there are a lot of things that have been completed in this process. And this is what the Cancer moon is about to show you, okay? So what I want to talk about is what Cancer how Cancer works in our life as that particular zodiac sign. It's the opposite of Capricorn. So it is not an earth sign like Capricorn. It is a water sign. And it is also a cardinal sign like Capricorn. Capricorn is a cardinal sign. So that means that cardinal signs are really good for initiating and kicking up like renewed energy, new projects, new ideas, new creative endeavors. But Cancer is of the 4th house in the zodiac, and that rules the home life, family. It also has a very strong tie to maternal energy, so mother energy, feminine energy. It is going to also churn up a lot of emotional stuff that you've been holding on to. And so coming into this new year, you've made a lot of decisions for yourself. You've probably had some very interesting things come up into your awareness. But at this point, you are reaching a completion cycle of very specific emotions. And this is a great time to allow yourself to clear some things out. And you will be clearing things out. So if you haven't already started to feel how that energy is churning and how it's wanting to kind of kick up some different, it's so much more than just feelings though. My eye keeps twitching. It's so much more than just your feelings. It is how you see yourself. It is very reflective. They're the emotions that cause you to reflect back on yourself with maybe not so much kindness. You might feel to yourself, oh, I'm frustrated again. I'm annoyed again. Again, I am irritated by this, that, this person, this situation, these circumstances. Like I'm frustrated, I'm irritated, I'm annoyed. Like I just, you know? And so that right there is a perfect emotion to reflect back on. Why do you allow these particular things to generate such frustration inside of your body? Why do you allow this irritation to be there? And what is it that you interpret it as? What do you make it mean? Do you make it mean that it's all bad, that you're bad, that it's all wrong, that you're wrong? This is where you get to like dig in a little bit deeper. right? And so you've got to be able to reflect on what the feeling is, isolate the emotion, and then recognize that emotions are not actually who you are. Emotions get generated in the amygdala of the brain based on how a thought is interpreted and an experience is interpreted. Okay. And so emotions generate as energy that move through the body. And if we don't process the emotions, they get locked into the body. They literally get locked into the body. It's like they freeze like ice in different parts of your body. And the only way that you can release those frozen pieces of emotional energy is by processing them. And to process them, you've got to let those energies thaw. And that means that you've got to create some warmth. You've got to be able to hold the energy for what is coming up. And sometimes that's not easy. Sometimes that's really hard. Sometimes that feels not good. But know that what you are holding as emotional energy in your body does not define who you are as an individual. Your emotions do not define your value, your self-worth, your potential, what you are capable of doing, who you are capable of being and becoming. These are not like what you're capable in terms of actionable steps, how you can move through life, what you can manifest, what you can attract. But I do find that emotions tend to be massive blockers to what we manifest because they create these energetic walls and they are dense. So imagine that you have something that you want to do and you don't even realize the depth of the emotion that you feel about it. It just feels like a wall, right? So if you are somebody who's looking for a partner, you're like open, you're like, I am ready to find my soulmate. I am ready to land that incredible person into my life. And I give you an actionable step on how you can do that. There might be some resistance, right? And there's a lot of different things that can create the resistance, but typically it's because of experience. It's because of something that's already happened. Self-awareness, amazing, Robin. Self-awareness is so powerful in your consciousness. I mean, that awareness and consciousness are like along the same frequency. And the more consciously aware that we are about our feelings and our thoughts and just the different energies that's running through our body, meaning where you feel that tightness, where you feel that resistance, where you feel that wall coming up, where you feel like you want to conceal or protect a little bit more. These are just symptoms of, emotional energy that has created different blockages in the body. And so it's not to say that you can't do this, you can't have that, this isn't going to happen for you. But the emotion is tethered to a thought that is also tethered to a belief that is also tethered to your identity that is saying whether or not this is possible for you, right? Because whether or not you can really connect with it in that moment, the emotional wall that comes up that makes you feel frustrated or sad or angry, or this feeling of lack, or I can't have this and it can't work for me. It's all emotional energy. This is not based on truth. This is not based on fact. Okay. So right now, coming into this new year, we have an opportunity with this full moon tomorrow to really let go of a lot of deep-seated emotions that have been sitting within us and have been sitting all around us, because the body is the home for the spirit and the soul, right? Your home is the vessel that is also where you live, okay? So this is a vessel, like it's a vessel that holds vessel, that holds vessel. And so we want to start with the most immediate vessel, and we really want to allow ourselves to clear this out. Okay, so I have 3 things that I'm going to be sharing with you and how I'm really feeling this come about for us right now. And then also transferring that energy into the home. This is going to be a really great time. And it doesn't mean you have to do it this weekend, but I would say that it's definitely going to come up this weekend and possibly throughout all of next week, where you might decide you're ready to seriously declutter. This is a perfect time for you to go through your pantry, that drawer that you have in your kitchen, or, I don't know, anywhere in your house. Could be your room, could be your closet, could be somewhere that, you've just accumulated a lot of stuff. I have a drawer, we have a drawer like that in our kitchen that is batteries and I don't even know. I think we have like a garage door opener in there that's a spare. It's like the spare keys. I think there's like matchbooks and lighters and, you know, like so many just different random things. It is that drawer where we just like, I don't know what to do with this. It's got like instruction manuals for different things that I've purchased over time. And so things just kind of land in that drawer. But from time to time, we've got to go through that drawer because I have found instruction manuals in there for different things that I don't even have anymore. So I get rid of that. Hi, Kelly. Yes, that's perfect. That's perfect timing. This is such a great time to clean things out. So we're cleaning out from within. We're cleaning out without, you know, as above, so below, as within, so without. And so we've got to do some good energetic, emotional hygiene work here. And we've got to do some good energetic hygiene work throughout our home. Okay. And that always starts by clearing the stagnant energy. So the three things that I really want to express for this particular full moon. Okay. It's like structure versus flow. And the reason it's structure versus flow is because of Capricorn. Capricorn is all about structure. Capricorn is my rising sign. Capricorn is Kelly's sun sign. Hello, Miss Sherry. And so you're doing the garage. That's perfect. And so structure for Capricorn is like, I want to set up a really strong foundation for you to grow something. I want you to be able to build something extraordinary on this. And in order for it to do that, the foundation's got to be strong, right? It's got to be really anchored into the earth. And like I said, Capricorn is an earth sign. So it gives, and it has a lot of masculine energy attached to it because it really wants to be able to create through building. Okay. And so that is much more action steps of masculine energy versus Cancer, which is very feminine and on the inner parts of us, the emotional parts, the sacred womanhood parts, the femininity, the sacred divine woman energy. Okay. So with that being said, we've got our structure. Now we need our flow. This tends to be a little bit of the harder part because honestly, most of us, whether we were man or woman, when we were born, the world is just a hyper masculine place. And that is shifting, which is really lovely. But we've got to really work a little bit more towards that shift because a lot of the times, and I am still guilty of this as well, is a lot of the times when we do have feelings come up and whether we're frustrated or uncertain and confused and we need clarity or direction, we tend to think to ourselves, what do I need to do? Instead of who do I need to be? And that is where the flow part comes in. You have your structure. Now we want to create flow. You have the safety mechanism that has a strong foundation. It's being reworked during Capricorn season. So that way, when we head into Aquarius season next, it's like there's a different kind of flow to it. Now you get to express what's happening because Aquarius is very intelligent, very mind-oriented, very innovative, very revolutionary. And it likes to communicate its thoughts. So that is going to transition from Capricorn to Aquarius. This is where we do the inner work so that then when we enter into Aquarius season, we can really start expressing it so much differently. And when we go into Aquarius season this year, I'm telling you right now, we are preparing for a solar eclipse. Okay, February 17th. So just take note of that. But these structures and flows, they go hand in hand, but they want to support each other. There is a cohesiveness that they're trying to establish with each other. And so that flow part means I've created my structure really strong. My foundation is grounded and earthed. And so now I get to find my flow. But in order to find the flow, we have got to find an inner strength, an inner trust, inner faith, and being able to comfort ourselves when we are in the void. Because that's typically where we start getting a little chaotic, is like we're in the void, nothing's really happening, and we're like, I need to do something. I need to do something. I need to do something. And again, that's why I say like we have a lot of that hyper masculine energy, don't we? Because we're like, I gotta go, and then we're bouncing all over the place and we're wondering why we have energetic leaks and we're exhausted. So this is where I want you to really focus on finding your flow, because I know that most of you have already started working on the structure aspect of it, right? So the other part is there's a very, very strong alignment, which is the sun is going to be completely conjunct with Venus. And when the sun is in this perfect alignment with Venus, it's really quite beautiful. The sun represents this consciousness, right? And Venus represents this feminine flow. So it works out really perfect because now with all of this emotional energy that's getting churned up with the Cancer full moon, you get to access your feminine flow. And that is going to look like extra affection. Maybe you feel like socializing a little bit more. Maybe you want to go shopping and, you've cleaned out all of this stuff and now you're ready to kind of restore it with some new stuff. You get some new clothes. Maybe you buy a new piece of furniture. Maybe you restock your house with different things that you haven't had ever before. And all of a sudden, it's like this new alignment takes place where the energy is softened, but at the same time, it is still moving. And I think that's where we get really tangled up in ourselves, is like we expect this movement to be very different. And sometimes it doesn't feel like anything is happening. And that causes us to freak the fuck out. Like, should I be doing something? Should I be doing something? What should I be doing right now? And this is where I'm going to ask you to take a step back and allow yourself to be like this very goddessy being that is laying out on this beautiful chaise and somebody is fanning you with an ostrich feather while feeding you grapes, right? You can be that version of yourself. And you'll have to probably dig a little bit for it, but she's there and she wants to be activated. We all have a goddess that lives within us. We have this beautiful frequency of goddess energy, these beautiful codes of goddess energy that want to be forward facing in our lives, but we suppress her because we're not sure if she's safe to come out. This is the full moon to really let her out. Let her out of the lantern, okay? Let her be free. The other thing that I would say is, and I'm just going to read the notes that I had written down earlier. So the sun conjunct Venus in Capricorn, spotlight on rediscovering what you love and what brings you joy. You may feel more affectionate, more sociable, and ready to elevate your look and how you feel. Financial gains are likely, but try not to overindulge. When Venus gets involved with the sun or with Jupiter, or with Mars, she can definitely overindulge. So I would say, like, have fun, be playful, really express that feminine flow and that sensuality that comes with Venus, but try not to overindulge yourself. And then the third part is mirror work. I absolutely love doing mirror work. It's not something that I've always done in my practice, but it's something that I started doing not too long ago, and I actually really, really love it. And so I would say that when you're doing mirror work, there can be this sense of awkwardness if you've never done it before. When you first encounter yourself in the mirror and you're looking at yourself in the eyes and you're speaking really profound, deep wisdom back to yourself. Because normally we're not speaking beautiful, authentic, deep, intrinsic wisdom back to ourselves. We're usually picking on ourselves for not getting something right, or not being on time, or forgetting something at the store when we were just there, or being a day late on a bill that we completely forgot was due. Like, there's so many little things that we pick on ourselves, and we pick on ourselves and we're scratching away. And it's really not good for us to do that, because your words are spells and your spells are power. And this is the creation codes to manifesting your reality. So when you're doing mirror work, I'm going to invite you to get really intimate with yourself. There's a lot of intimacy that is involved with this particular full moon, and you are reaching a completion of a particular cycle right now. So this cycle would have started last June. Yeah, last June, early July. This would have been a cycle that started then and is now coming into completion with this full moon. Okay. So what I had written down for the mirror work, because I contemplated this, and I was like, what does it feel like with this particular moon that I would really want to express to myself with that powerful love and intimate wisdom. And what I wrote down was, look into your eyes, breathe deeply as you stare into your own soul. This might be a little intimidating to some people who have never done it before, because honestly, a lot of the times you take yourself too seriously for certain things, like being a day late on your credit card payment. And then you don't take yourself seriously enough when it comes to like your deep and profound wisdom. So what I would love for you to do is like take some deep breaths, stand in front of the mirror and stare at yourself intently for a few minutes. Like really look into your eyes and look into the beauty of your eyes, these windows to your soul, because your eyes tell a really beautiful story about who you are, where you've been, what you've encountered, what you've overcome, what you're still working through, things that are sacred to you, mysteries, secrets, things that are deep within that maybe nobody knows about. But your eyes tell a magical story about who you are and where you come from. So please give yourself that respect and live in resonance with that and really embrace who you are as a soul, as a human, as a spirit, as a mind and a heart and a vessel, all coming together into one piece to become. This is your becoming. We're always becoming. But when we give up on ourselves, when we walk away from ourselves, when we completely abandon who we are, this is where we lose sight of the wisdom and we lose the God within ourselves, because we're not listening to that inner voice that is tethered to the divine. Mary Lou, yes, mirror work intimidates me, but I'm aware why, and that is something I need to become comfortable with. Mirror work is definitely, like I said, it can be very awkward, right? It can be very awkward, but please start practicing and stretch yourself each time, okay? So maybe you stand in the mirror and you look at yourself and make sure, and here, actually, let me add this. This might help. Make sure the lighting is good, okay? Nobody wants to look like, you know, they have this weird lighting over their face that casts a weird shadow and you can see the lines all different. Like, you want to make sure your lighting is good. Make sure your mirror is clean. That's a good idea too. What I recommend is, before you do your mirror work, clean your mirror, okay? Clean your mirror and make sure your lighting is good. And if you feel like taking it a step further, light a candle, light some incense, and bring a crystal with you that feels really beautiful, like rose quartz. Bring rose quartz with you, something that's very soft and gentle and loving, right? But also muscle test it, feel it out. Maybe it's a completely different crystal that wants to be with you. I've been working with rose quartz a lot lately, so that one just feels very in alignment for me. Okay, so once you're breathing and you're looking into your eyes, I want you to say, I love you. I love you. Just because you can, right? You've said I love you to pets, animals, children, so many different people. You've said I love you to people that you don't love. This happens a lot of time in the workplace. I remember when I had a job, everybody loved each other until you didn't work with each other, you know, and then everybody didn't love each other anymore. I always thought it was very interesting. But you should love you. And that should be the most authentic love that you have. Okay. Sense the deep well of mystery and the emotions that are swimming within you. So really like take that deep breath and allow yourself to like gaze within your eyes. And I want you to really just watch and also allow different feelings to come to the surface. If there is an element of embarrassment, let it be there and say, hello, embarrassment. It's so incredible to encounter you again. I know that we have had so many experiences together and I'm not upset that you're here, although I don't think that you need to be here anymore. I don't think embarrassment needs to be here because deep down, I'm not embarrassed for being who I am. and for desiring a more intimate connection with who I am, and for softening into my femininity and allowing this experience to be here. And whatever other emotions decide to make themselves known, I'm okay with that because I can hold the energy for it. I can hold the energy of this experience. And think about all of the different energy of different experiences that you've held that were incredibly uncomfortable and hurtful and painful and disruptive. This doesn't need to be that. But I think it would be interesting that this could correlate to other experiences that you've had that made you really uncomfortable or feel embarrassed or guilty or shameful. And find what that connection is. Find that connection, because it will unlock something for you and it will make this work so much easier. And I'm telling you, it will unravel a mystery. So you want to hold your gaze without judgment. That's the part that gets really hard, is you're frustrated with you about things. There are things that you wish you could do that you haven't done. There are things that you said you were going to do that you never did. And so what this really comes down to is building trust. You've got to build trust back with yourself. If you can't look at your own eyes in the mirror, it just tells me that there's a part of you that has lost trust with who you are. And I don't want to say like you've given up, because I don't think that we've given up. I think what happens is that you just start to become detached, right? You just start detaching from your own life experience. You start detaching from your wants. You start detaching from your desires. You start detaching, and your nervous system starts collapsing under the pressure of, I'm not trusting myself. And this is a very masculine, feminine dynamic. This is like the feminine part of you that is holding everything and trying to safely secure it all with trust and receptivity. She's like, you said you were going to do these things, to the masculine part, because the masculine part was like, oh, I'm going to take care of this and I'm going to do that and blah, 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 blah. And then she's waited and she's watched, and all of a sudden she's like, you didn't do those things that you said you were going to do. And so it creates an inner conflict. One part of you has been waiting patiently for another part of you to take care of the stuff that you said you were going to. And it's very much like a relationship with anybody else. If I told my husband I was going to do something and I didn't do it, he would be, he might not be upset, but if I did it consistently, he would be like, okay, Renee, what's the deal? Like, what are we doing here? Like, why are you doing this? And I would have to address that. The problem with your feminine is that you don't listen to her. You don't let her really have a voice. And I would know that if there's this really big gap of internal trust that the feminine knows that the masculine part is going to do what it said it's going to do. And even if it doesn't do what it said it's going to do, the feminine trusts that when the time is right, masculine will step up and complete the task, right? And so this is about building inner trust with yourself. All of it. Everything that I've said today. The inner foundational work during Capricorn season, going within, the inner retreat, the hibernation, the solitude. You've got to be really trusting of yourself to be able to go into the silence, into the void, into the darkness, and be willing to see what's hanging out there, right? If I don't trust myself, then I'm going to allow myself to get distracted by a lot of different things that keep me from doing that work, right? And so the trust is also you being able to look at yourself, you being able to make really aligned decisions for yourself, choices, not based on 100% certainty, but based in the trust and intuition in your body that's hitting, that's pulsating and saying yes or no. The parts of you that are lighting up or constricting, saying yes or no, okay? So with this moon, cleaning things out, cleaning you out, cleaning the house out, cleaning the car, clearing the office, cleaning a bunch of stuff, maybe redoing your altar. All of these things are actually on my list right now. I did already take care of the car, but my office, I've got to clean my office. And I want to do it. Actually, I've been waiting for this moon to do it. My altar is getting completely reworked as well. And those are things that it wasn't like I made a list and I said, these are the things that I have to do during the Cancer full moon. It's more of like what is just naturally starting to come into my awareness and how I feel about it. So I felt to myself, it's probably time to, reorganize my office and do all of these different things. Is this a yes or a no for me right now? And it was like, well, not right now, but in the next week or so. And that's what lines up with this weekend. And same thing for my altar. I really want to get that redone. I want to rework some things. And it was like, nope, not today, not today, not today, not today. And then this morning I woke up and I was like, ooh, it's coming. I'm probably going to do it tomorrow morning. So that's how it works. There's a flow. There's a respect. There's a trust. There's a faith. There's a desire. There's an understanding. There's a holding. And that's the magic of womanhood. That is the magic of the feminine. Kelly, I've never intentionally done mirror work, but I do occasionally have conversations with myself in the mirror. I know that sounds so weird, but I guess I have been doing mirror work without realizing it. Yes. No, I completely understand. A lot of times, especially like earlier on in my business, I would practice my lives, and even like different classes that I was teaching, I would kind of practice it out in the mirror to see like if it flowed, if I felt like it worked, if it was, like, should I change anything? Does this feel good to me? Should I not say this? Should I say this? And so I've done a lot of mirror work of like rehearsing conversations and teaching and, instructing different things. But the deeper mirror work will come in when you are able to, I think, just really hold your own gaze and maybe not say anything at all. And I'm curious to know what you find there. The other thing that I've done with mirror work is I've softened my gaze and I've kind of like unfocused my eyes a little bit. Kind of like if you were looking at one of those 3D pictures from the 90s, like in that Seinfeld episode where Mr. Pitt is really obsessed with this 3D picture. And so, when you've seen those pictures and you have to kind of like, I don't want to say like cross your eyes a little bit, but it feels like you are. And so you're not really focused, but you kind of soften your gaze. So you can do that in the mirror too. And what comes up is actually really cool. Many, many, many years ago, I did this. This was probably like, I don't know, maybe like 13, 15 years ago. I'm trying to think of like how old my kids were. And Caden was a baby. So definitely about 13 years ago, I would say. But I did mirror work and I softened my gaze, and my intention was to connect with different faces of my past lives. So I softened my gaze and I'm staring in the mirror, and the room was not brightly lit. So we want to make sure, if you're going to do this, make sure that your lighting is more dim. Okay. And so I do have a dimmer switch in my bathroom, which I love. And so this would be a perfect place for me to do it. But you could also do it in your bedroom with the lights off if you have like just a window kind of cracked open, in the light a little bit. And what happens is you soften your gaze, take some deep breaths, and then just gently kind of gaze at yourself in the mirror. What happened for me was, what freaked me out was I saw a lioness face show up, and I saw other faces before that, but they didn't freak me out. When I saw the lioness face was when I was like, like, what is that? And then, I ran over and turned the light on because I wasn't ready to face that aspect of myself. I wasn't ready to see everything that it was wanting to show me. And it was very clear to me in that moment that I had encountered a version of myself that I wasn't ready to embody. And so I think that's also part of the fear, is that there's something very deep within you. There's something so fucking deep within you. This isn't about you becoming somebody else. This is about you going deeper into yourself to find out what's true. Because the world will tell you a lot of different stories about what's true and what's not true. But only you have the wisdom to discern whether that is right for you or not, right? So this is an opportunity to do that. This is an opportunity to really immerse yourself, into your multiple identities. Because honestly, it's not just one identity. Do you know how many layers of selves are within you, between shadows and inner children and higher self? Like, there is such a massive hierarchy of who you are. And the unfortunate part is that we tend not to go upward into the higher self. We tend to go downward into the lower selves, the lower vibrational experiences of who we are, and listen to that person. That person does not have the wisdom, but they They do want you to think that they have the wisdom because they're like, hey, I'm here to keep you safe. And when your parents told you that you shouldn't be riding your bike, all the way across town, or you shouldn't be climbing those trees, or you shouldn't be driving in your car without a seatbelt as a kid, when you first got your license, that seemed like wisdom. My parents are just keeping me safe, right? They don't want me to fall out of the tree. They don't want me to get hurt in a car accident. They don't want me, to get lost or something bad happening to me riding my bike across town. Of course, if you were born around the time that me and other people that I know, our parents didn't give a shit about those things. But that's okay because we developed our own wisdom. So my point is that it might seem like wisdom when your body starts freaking out and saying like, don't do this, don't buy that, don't go there. But it's not. It's really just your ego trying to protect you from experiencing something different because it's not sure if that new different thing is actually going to be good for you. But that's when you've got to grow some balls and say, whether it's good for me or not, I can handle the outcome. Whether it's good for me or not, I can handle the feelings that might bring up with it. I can handle this experience. I can handle making a fucking mistake because I've made a million mistakes before and I'm still here. I'm still going. I'm still successful. I'm still thriving in a lot of areas of my life. So even if I make a mistake, and if you've ever studied human design, I'm a 3-line. I'm going to make mistakes. And I'm going to learn from them, and I'm going to teach from them. So all of the times that I've misstepped, that I've done something that I looked at and I was like, why did you do that? Why did you do that? Honestly, I have been able to help other people with that lesson. I have been able to serve other people with that information. I have been able to bring that experience into other people's worlds and reshape their fucking lives. Okay? So is it really a bad thing, or is it really the most extraordinary thing that I could be? Is somebody who's capable of making mistakes, holding the energy for moving through the mistake and then revitalizing my journey, right? It's all dependent on how you look at it, your awareness, your perception, how you can process the emotion, how you can feel your way through it, how you can trust your intuition. And so just know that a lot of this is what's coming through with this full moon. And this is a completion cycle. And then we will have our new moon in Capricorn, which is going to help us restabilize, okay, before we come out of Capricorn season and into Aquarius. Then we have a Leo full moon. Then we have a solar eclipse in Aquarius. So we're going to be chugging right along here. I am holding a masterclass next Friday, and it is a live masterclass from 3 to 5. It's only $22. It's called Light Identity, and it was a download that I had gotten months ago, and I've been waiting for the moment to be right. I've been waiting for the stars to align to offer this masterclass because I received this download, and it was Light Identity, and I was like, "Whoa, what is that?" And then it was like, it's all about recalibrating your identity to meet your next highest level, because even though so much happens in the darkness, this is where conception and creation begin. Being able to see it through to the other side is where we lack. It's where we dissemble the energy and we allow it to unravel and collapse under the pressure of, is it going to be good enough? Is it going to work? And without the stability and safety within your nervous system to say, I am a solid yes and I can move with this, even though I'm a little scared, I'm a little trepidatious, I don't really know what's going to happen. This is where we restore from within so that we can bridge that gap from where we've been and who we've been to who we are becoming and where we are going. Okay, so it's going to be a very extraordinary masterclass next Friday for anybody who cannot attend live. It will be recorded, okay? But it is going to be a 2-hour training all about identity, all about your next level self that is calling you forward and dismantling the different things that are keeping you from experiencing that version and embodying her power. Okay, so it's $22. If you would like the link, please just comment below that you would like the link. You could just say link, honestly. And I think I posted something before I went live, and you could comment on that one too. And that one is Light 2026 to comment there, and I will send you the link. And so other than that, I really hope that all of you are doing so well. I hope that after last year, this 1 year, this fire horse year is absolutely extraordinary for you. There's going to be so much rebirth and creation and metamorphosis that really integrates in because of what was unveiled and what was traversed in 2025. Everything that was hard, everything that we fought against, everything that we hated, everything that we resisted, everything that felt like it didn't fit, it doesn't belong, I don't want this, I'm not going there, it brought us there. It brought us to the edge. It brought us to the depths. It brought us to places we never want to revisit again. And I would love to say that, we're all just going to kumbaya, around a fire right now. But we've got work to do. We've got work to do. This is a time to rest and restore, but it's also a time for planning so that you can get the work done. Okay? So with that being said, I wish you all a really beautiful, happy new year. Welcome to 2026, year of the fire horse. That does not start until February 17th, which is the day of the solar eclipse in Aquarius. Okay. So do not get yourself all worked up that like we are in fire horse right now. It does not start on January 1st. Okay. It doesn't start till the 17th of February. But it is coming. And this is a beautiful place to really plant your seeds and to really start reinforcing the foundation, tilling your soil, doing the inner work, reflecting, doing the mirror work, softening on yourself, and really asking yourself a lot of questions about who I am and where I really desire to be. Okay. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Full moon blessings to you all. Happy New Year. Happy 2026. Love you all. Mwah. Bye for now.